First violin, Dance of the Hours. Hello guys, in this video we're going to be talking about this piece, Dance of the Hours. And the good news is that this is actually very simple. There's only few parts in this piece that you actually have to pay close attention to because there are things that change completely. But other than that, everything is repetitive. So, starting from the top. Andante moderato, very slow but not extremely. Medium slow. Don't forget about the pizzicato. And even though I've already mentioned that, even though it says piano, pizzicato with like the amount of musicians that we have are exaggerated. So feel free to pluck much louder than what you see. Exaggerate on your dynamics, and I would adjust it if it was too loud. After your last pizzicato here, which is G, again, you're not holding it in plucking position, but in arco position with your index finger, just plucking for 4 notes and going back to arco. So B, G, as soon as G is over, G is done, you technically pluck and at the same time move your bow all the way down to the tip to prepare it for, or almost in the middle to prepare it for 16th notes. See? And then, as you can see, I wrote number 3 with this line completely continuing, which means you're holding down your 3rd finger all the way until here. Actually, until here. After you play open E, then obviously you let go of your 3rd. But up to there, up to there, and then open. See? And then when you play it as it is, and notice, I practiced it just playing as quarter notes first. But then, right? Do practice it a little bit faster too, even though we're not going to play it at that speed. The piece doesn't go that fast. But when you practice technical pieces like this, a little bit quicker than what actually needs to be played at, your fingers get used to playing it in a little bit harder, more difficult way, and you learn it that way too. So then when you play it at its actual speed, everything would feel a lot easier, right? So the chances that you reduce the chances of you messing up at a normal speed by a lot if you practice it at a faster speed, and vice versa. Make sure you do this crescendo, then moving on to B natural is your low 4th. So right, everything is as it is. Then starting from here, right, leggero. So don't forget the second notes of each 2 notes that are slurred are staccato. The second notes are staccato. If you can use your 4th, that would be a little better just because it's a staccato, and if you use your open while you let go of your bow, unless you choke the string on with your bow, which is not as pretty, it's going to continue ringing. So it would be a little bit better to use your 4th, but if not, it's still okay to just play open. As you can see, every part sounds the same articulation wise. Here you can either do high first for C or use the same 2nd finger. I would suggest to follow these fingers that you see. See, then you switch. So 2-1 and then go back 2-1. F, C, C, B. like that. That way you would isolate these two parts together as well. Then everything else is as it is. You already know what fingering is, what to do. Always fourth finger, obviously. Again, if you're having trouble playing your fourth fingers, you could use your open, but try using your fourth just so that it sounds correct articulation-wise all together. Then acknowledge the ritardando. Get slower gradually up to here, not before this beat, right? Most people just slow it down up to this part and then down at bottom start a tempo from the fourth beat, pick up to 26. But in fact, a tempo is at 26. So the pickup is the slowest part. Bottom, bottom, then it goes back to speed here. And SIM, sim means similar, as you can see here too. It continues with the same exact articulation all the way up to this part. Leggero means pretty light and not too aggressive, right? So when you have that part, you could either try it on string or off string, but practice it on string first. Don't forget to retake your bows each time. And then faster, it would be the best if you could use your fourth for all of that, so that your string doesn't ring on staccato notes. Same with this next part. In this case, you have to use fourth for B. There's no other way. So as you can see, retake each time. Right? And a staccato all the way. Just don't forget these retakes. That's pretty much it. And again, practice them as eighth notes first. Hold the notes long enough for you to get used to how they sound, and then play them as it is. If you're having difficulties playing the notes at the actual speed the first time, don't practice them fast, right? Do it still very, very slow, practice it slow, and eventually you would be able to move your fingers that quick and play all your notes correctly at the actual speed. Okay, moving on to the second page. As you can see, everything stays the same. We need to go over this again. Everything stays the same up to here. Tempo changes. Tempo stays the same. I mean, time signature changes. You go from 4/4 to 3/4 and up bow. Make sure you do these as slurs, okay? So 1, 2, 3, and ready and go. Right, fermata. Then you may or may not use the third position. It doesn't matter. You could just simply use first finger for F sharp. Starting from 73, that's Allegro Vivo. That's lively fast. It's pretty quick, but it's not the fastest speed. 2/4. You have now 2 beats per measure, and as you can see, if you remember this type of rhythm that we used to just practice on your scales and other difficult parts, we called it like long, short, or opposite of this would be short, long, short, long. You actually have it written down, and it's used in this part. So ta 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 ta, long, short, like this. Right? Fortissimo, 2 Fs. And moving on, few things you have to keep in mind. Number 1, at 77, there's a sign right there. This is where I would use highlighters, different colors, because not only there is a sign, but also a coda. So you could technically use 2 different highlighters, 2 different colors, so that you would know where to go back to. That would actually help from looking at the entire page looking at something that sticks out at different color would actually catch your eye, catch your attention a lot quicker, so then you would be able to jump to it much faster while the piece is being played. I used to do that as well. It's very helpful. One thing to remember, the downbeats are forte, the rest is piano. So for your first downbeat, you do and try to again exaggerate. There's an accent on forte, exaggerate on your downbeat, and then piano. Then again, downbeat, accented, piano. Ba ba bum, ba ba bum. Everything you say is piano. And then again, right? Moving on to the next page. Same thing repeats. Every time you have forte, those are the beats that everyone in the entire orchestra is going to exaggerate on and play much louder. All the notes are, again, do it very slow. As far as fingerings, they're pretty much self-explanatory. There is only one way and one correct way that would make the most sense to use for all these notes. First, low second, high second, third, low second. There's only one way of doing them. Just make sure you're not misreading the notes. Make sure you're paying attention to read the correct accidentals, okay? And either open or fourth, either way that works the best for you. Now, every time you pass over one of these signs, try to remember where they are, and that's why it's very important to color them, right? You continue here at 93 to 106, there's a repeat. Also, these ones are short and staccato. Then you could use open as I wrote zeros. Retake, and again down. See? Then the next time, let me just make sure I move this a little bit more. There we go. The next time when you play this section, you're going to be playing C sharp. So the first ending, I'm sorry here, this part is C natural, but the second time, don't forget, if you need to write down signs, fingerings, make sure you do so. You do it so that when you practice, that would become priority in your mind and you would learn it much quicker that way. After you took the repeats, you took the second ending, and then you go to DS, the sign, or coda. So you go back to the sign. If you remember, the sign was at measure 77. Obviously, you don't have to turn the page. I'm doing this so that you can see it better in the camera. Both these pages are going to be placed on your stand, but make sure you go back to 77. Continue all over again. You will still do the repeats, but this time when you get to here, this part, you don't actually reach the repeats, but in case you had repeats beforehand, you would do them. When you get to this part, as soon as you're done with measure 91, see, that's where the coda is. Then end of measure 91, then you move to the coda, and there's still one repeat in the coda, and you finish the piece. Again, make sure here you follow the correct fingerings. Try to use low fourth here. The best finger for this note would be low fourth, so that you would avoid the sound of sliding. If like 6 people does it this way at different speeds, it's not going to sound correct. So and then second ending. These are pretty easy. 4 measures from the end, down, 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 all retakes, right? With accents starting from 130. And the last note, as you can see, is down, up. So you start your notes down and finish off with a crescendo, and we're going to add an open G here as well. So if you could do both to make it sound louder and fuller, that would be a lot better. That's all there is about this piece. Just pay attention to the little details that you see in your music. Thanks and have fun practicing, guys.